It's all right, look at that thing. Hashtag new bike day. High five on that. Woo! Yeah. All right, let's take this thing out. Hey, what's up YouTube? Today is new bike day. Aw, yeah. Got ourselves a new whip. Gonna have some fun on this thing. This is a KTM FreeRide EX-C. It's an electric bike. I have been wanting to ride for a few months. I know that I made a video back in 2021 when I got the green KLX, and that bike was fun, but I like to ride really slow and on technical terrain. That bike does not like to be ridden slow. When you ride it slow, the header pipe gets extremely hot and turns bright red. Where I live, there's a ton of maple trees. All the leaves that fall, that drop in the autumn, when springtime hits, when it's time to ride, they're all dry and crinkly, and they all get picked up by the front tire and get thrown up on the exhaust pipe. And I actually had it catch fire. I think the second or third time I rode the bike. A couple of those pieces landed on the header pipe, and I was sitting there riding on the trail, first gear, and I looked down and just saw some flames on the header pipe, and I was like, holy crap, you know. So parked the bike, threw a bunch of dirt on it, got it off. Anyway, that experience made me hesitant to ride that green bike after that. I still rode it a few times around the neighborhood, but I didn't really ride it back in the woods. Recently, I had a good opportunity to pick up this bike. I've only ridden it for like 5 minutes around the back, but it is freaking awesome. It's absolutely perfect for what I'm trying to do. So I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys my experience with the bike, what I like about it, the problems that it solves that the green bike did not solve. And I'll do a little comparison of like the volume level of the green bike versus this thing. I'll use my watch, which has decibel meter in it, so you can kind of hear how loud the green bike was when it was opened all the way up versus this thing. Again, this is an electric motorcycle, so it's basically silent, which is awesome when you want to be stealthy. All right, so I'm gonna grab my helmet and my boots and stuff, and we're gonna take this thing for a spin. Hey folks, so I just finished reviewing all the footage, and I realized that I did not say the #1 reason that I got that bike. Mickey, my son, is terrified of the KLX. It's really noisy, it's tall, and he's just really scared of engine noises. All right. You coming with me?
Yeah.
All right.
Chasing you.
You're chasing me.
I will be your first weapon.
Hey, let's go get your black bike. Motorcycles and dirt bikes have been a passion of mine since I was a little kid. That's something I really wanted to share with him. So the reason that I got the bike was because I wanted him to be able to be around the bike and not be scared of it. He has a Stasic bike that I think the throttle on that thing is actually louder than the... No? Well, yeah, I think the engine on that bike is actually louder than the KTM. And he doesn't like riding it that much. Hey, let's go get your black bike.
I don't want to.
Why not?
I want run with my feet.
Do you want to ride on here?
No, I want to run with my feet.
Why are you covering your ears?
This bike is so quiet.
It is quiet. We took a few months off because of the winter, and now that he's back on it, he's not so inclined to use the throttle. See, you couldn't catch me. Use your gas. That's the only way you're gonna catch me. The only way you'll catch me is if you use your gas. When we were riding that bike last year, he was all over it. He wanted it in like the 3rd power setting so he could go as fast as possible, which is pretty nuts because he was only 4 years old. Anyway, my hope is that he will not be scared of the bike, my bike, and he will not be afraid of the motorcycle sport in general. Hey Mickey, do you want to try to chase me?
Yes.
Can you chase me on that bike?
No.
Sure you can. Hop on it, see if you can chase me.
No. off my shoes. I hope mixing speed in my shoes.
How about we go to the playground?
Yes.
All right, but you got to take that bike. What do you say?
I'm too little. I want to walk with my speed in my shoes.
That's going to take way too long. Let's take the bikes.
I don't know how to do like that.
You know how to ride that.
I'm not.
Just try it.
I don't want to. I'm not going to save us.
All right. You don't want to go climb around on the slide and stuff?
I want to go in the woods.
You want to go in the woods?
Yes.
Okay, well, can you ride that bike into the woods?
No.
Why not?
I want to walk in the feet.
You want to walk on your feet?
Yes.
All right, well, put your bike back in the garage.
Oh, I hurt my knee.
You hurt your knee?
Swamp. I'm a snowy swamp.
I really want to share it with him, and I'm really hoping that he can enjoy it and not be afraid of the bike. I know he's really young. He's going to be 5 this year. You know, this is the age when kids get introduced to them and they get like a little PW50 from Yamaha with training wheels, and they learn throttle control and whatnot. And the Stasic bike is providing that experience for him. But you know, motorcycles are loud even if you have like the full face helmet on. And that's the other thing, like I can't get him to put a full face helmet on because he doesn't like stuff touching his face. Although I have got him, he has worn my helmet because he thinks he's an astronaut when he's in it, which is pretty cool. That whole thing of like the noise level and whatnot, I'm really hoping that this bike combats that fear of his and gets him unafraid and interested and excited. All right, I just wanted to share that. Thanks for listening. Back to the video. All right, so I've got the KLX turned on right now. It's just warming up. It's been sitting in the garage for I think I rode it like a month ago, so it's not, yeah, it's good to go. It's just, you know, it needs to warm up for a while. Probably needs some fresh gas. Anyway, I'm gonna pull up the little ear feature on the watch. Let's see. Yeah, this thing right here, the noise meter. So you can see how loud this thing is. I crank up the throttle. It just measures from about 3 feet away. So it's not too loud. It's about 3 feet away from the exhaust pipe. I'm gonna give it a couple cranks. It's not too loud. Anyway, that's kind of annoying. That's kind of annoying if you're a neighbor. You know, you're doing something in your backyard and you hear that go ripping by. I'm gonna just do a couple little cruises by with this thing, just so you can get a vibe for basically how loud that bike is. You know, when you're about 10 feet, 15 feet away, versus how loud the KTM is doing the exact same path of travel. All right, so I got the helmet on. I'm just gonna do a couple passes just so you can hear how loud the KLX is. You know, first gear, just, you know, medium throttle, that kind of thing. About, you know, 15 feet away from the camera. Just so you get a vibe for like how loud that bike is, which is a very quiet bike considering what it is, relative to the KTM. All right, so like I said, that's what the KLX sounds like. I was in first gear the whole time, just, you know, medium throttle. It's not too loud. The other thing I already noticed about it, I'm going pretty slow, but man, there's already like a bunch of heat coming off the engine and whatnot. So, like I said, you know, I really wanted to ride that bike really, really slow and kind of, you know, work my way through the terrain, and just, you know, kind of crawl. I really just wanted to crawl on the bike. Didn't really get to. Because of the emission system on it that's designed to keep the emissions super clean, which causes the exhaust system to run extremely hot. Anyway, we're gonna do the same thing on the KTM. All right, so there you go. So as you can see, dude, like Ninja Assassin, that bike is essentially silent for what you're doing on it. I was in the lowest map setting, which kind of limits the power output. So this bike has like 26 horsepower maximum when you're on map 3. I think for map 1, it's pretty similar to what the KLX puts out. KLX has like 16 horsepower. It's not a lot of horsepower, but it's enough to be fun, and it's enough to like get you some good skills. In terms of like the way the bike feels, it's narrower than the KLX. You can see from the seat itself is definitely narrower versus this guy over here. This guy still feels pretty good. It's definitely, you know, like that's definitely, the KLX is definitely a cheaper bike. I got a pretty good deal on this thing, but it definitely, let's see, look at that come on. It's definitely a better bike. This is a water-cooled motor. That bike is air-cooled. Or that bike is still super fun, but you know, this is, you can just do so much more on this thing because of it's silent, you know, like it's not going to bother a bunch of people. All right, so I'm going to pack up the KLX, and then we're going to take a little ride on this thing. I have not taken it into the dirt yet, other than in my backyard, and even then it was just like around like 2 trees and whatnot. So the bike itself comes with trials tires. So the first thing I did is I had the dealership put on some more aggressive tires. I'll show the difference between those in just a second. All right, so these are the tires that come with the bike. You can see they're still pretty knobby. They're actually gummy tires. You can see like these knobs they're pretty easy to twist, which is pretty cool. But they are effectively dual sport tires, whereas these are not street legal tires. These are meant purely for off-road use. And I'm not trying to ride this thing anywhere but off-road, so there was no reason for me to keep these on here, and I wanted to get a bit more aggressive traction and whatnot. The other thing is, so I think in Europe you can get these KTMs. They're street legal. You can get them with street legal kits. Here in the States, you have to get like conversion kits and whatnot. So the way these bikes come out of the factory, that's why they come with the dual sport tires. So that way you can't, or the not dual sport tires. They come with the trials tires, because the trials tires, these particular ones, they are street legal. If you want to put a kit on the bike, it means you can take rides basically between trailheads. You know, finish one trail, drive down the street, maybe on the highway to the next trail, and then go ride around on the trail. And you don't have to worry about whether or not your bike is legal for street use or whatnot. This bike right now is not legal for street use. I do not have a lighting kit on it. I have no interest in competing with cars on the roadway. I will only be riding this thing off-road. Let's go for a ride in the woods. All right, let's go for a ride. I'm still learning the start sequence and how to change maps. Ugh. Sorry for my squeaky boots. All right, let's see. Key on, step 1, then this thing, then that. All right. And let's see, I want to do map 2. There it goes. Is that it? I'll push this. There it is. All right, I'm in map 2. Yeah, so I really just wanted to crawl like this on that KLX, but the engine did not like it if I'm riding this slow. This bike is awesome, because even though it's like silent, still got some juice to it. And it's great that I can just talk over it. Like, couldn't do this on the KLX, I would totally have to shout. So I haven't ridden anything back here. The only thing I've done is made just a little couple little rips like that. Back tire is definitely hooking up, which is awesome. But let's go on this trail back here. I'm gonna get that brake lever to be a little bit closer. As you can see, it's pretty overgrown back here, which is why I definitely did not want to run hot header bikes. Yeah, nobody's gonna get mad at me riding this thing back here. It doesn't make any noise. I just have to be careful. Make sure I can see where I'm going. This GoPro's blocking a decent chunk of my view. So like I said, I get to ride really stealthily back here, which is awesome. This is the way I was been trying to ride. Yeah, this thing boogies. I have to remember where all my trails are that I cut into the side. Oop, got hit by a branch. I'm going to put this in map 1 and then go on this little trail in the woods. Oh, looks like it's here on the side. That's on my slow speed crawling. So something that's interesting about this bike, it does not have a brake on this side. It has no gearbox and it has no clutch. So front brake right there, rear brake right there. So it's very similar to mountain biking, which is pretty cool. All right, let's change this mode. Okay, I think I'm in mode 1. Yep. All right, let's do this slow crawl. I cleared these trails yesterday. The best thing about this bike, it feels so freaking nimble compared to the KLX. Oh, I may have wanted to actually be in mode 2. Ooh. Yeah, I should probably be in mode 2. Let's go down this way. It's definitely going to make my arms tired. Using the handbrakes. But that's okay. So maybe I might consider putting the foot brake on this thing. I'm not sure. I just like that I can talk over it. Oh yeah, this thing is heavy. Heavy when you're going that slow. Good workout, wow. Let's see. Let's go down here. Oh, no one's gonna know. That's the best part about this one. And the battery recharges when you coast. Street riding. Yeah, I think the loudest part of this bike is just the tires on the pavement, to be honest. Yeah, so that was exciting. Has that battery up? 13 miles per hour. Right on. Pink roadie is starting to bloom. Awesome. And we're gonna ride this trail one more time. Ooh, I'm really hungry. Play no foot down. Up, foot down. Let's go this way. And do we go down that? There goes straight. Straight or left? Straight or right? Let's go to the right. There we go. Yeah, just crawling. There should be a map too back here. Let's get a little bit more juice in this start. Oh, there's the arm pump. All right. Perfect. Okay. All right, so that was super fun. All right, so the type of riding I'm trying to do is the slow speed crawl through the tight, slow technical trails, basically playing the game no foot down over all the terrain. That means you ride through the terrain and you try not to take your feet off the foot pegs. Super good experience, great for your balance, you know, lower back, core type strength type stuff. This bike is really nimble. The way that it feels when you're on it, it really does feel like you're riding just a really heavy, agile mountain bike that you don't have to pedal. It doesn't feel bulky or slow like a regular air-cooled four-stroke. No shots to the KLX. KLX was awesome for what I needed it to do, which is basically be the stepping stone that showed me I still wanted to do this. When I got the KLX, I was fulfilling a childhood dream, but I didn't know the bike that I rode when I was a kid. I rode it at this camp called Krista Camps for like a week, and I did it like two or 3 years in a row. That was an XR100, and those are only like 150, 160 pounds. The KLX is 252 pounds when it's full of liquids. I believe the FreeRide is the same weight as the KLX, but it carries the weight. So it carries the weight further back on the bike. Most motorcycles, they carry the weight on the front because that's where all the engine is. So this thing, it carries it back a little bit further, which makes it just feel different when you're on the bike, which is awesome. I'm trying to think what else I really like about it. Yeah, it's silent. It's not overly tall. That's my big complaint with like a full-size KTM or like a woods bike or whatnot. It's a little bit smaller than them. And for me, the mountain bike that I ride, even though I'm 5'11", my mountain bike is a medium frame, which is just a little bit small for me. I really like just the way a smaller bike feels. That comes from my time riding BMX bikes as a kid. I just prefer the feel of a smaller bike. I don't want a big heavy bike, big full bike that I feel like I'm just wrestling around. So this is the perfect bike for what I'm trying to do. There's a lot of people who are not on board with electric motorcycles. You know, they want the smell of the two-stroke engine. They want the sound that goes with it. They want the throttle response that goes with it. The quote I heard from the dealer was that technology moves at the speed of culture. So if the motorcycle culture is just not on board with electric motorcycles, it's just going to be a slow process to adapt. The world is starting to transition in that direction, you know, through the form of Tesla cars, Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, There's the Ford F-150 Lightning. So we're heading in that direction, and as more and more people start to adopt that stuff, bikes like this will become accepted. And when bikes like these become accepted, people around the world in communities that hate motorcycles will stop hating them, and they will start allowing them to ride in more and more places. And that's the best thing. Like, there's a lot of trail riding areas and motocross, supercross tracks. Well, not supercross because that's indoors, but a lot of like outdoor motocross tracks and trails and whatnot that are getting shut down because of the noise complaints that people have over gas-powered motorcycles. Like, the big thing about gas-powered motorcycles when you're riding them on closed course is you don't have to do any sort of spark arrestor or silencer. And when you don't have those things, the bikes produce a lot more power. But that also makes them like crazy noisy and loud. Some people are into that sound, a lot of people are not into that sound. So this bike gives you the trail rider equivalent of that same experience without all the noise, which is awesome. There's another e-bike that's coming out soon. It's already started to ship. It's called the Stark Varg. And it's like a full-blown motocross, supercross bike. It's like 80 horsepower in the highest power setting. They didn't put any stops when they were developing on that thing. They're trying to compete with full-on CRF 450s and WRF 450s and KX 450Fs and whatnot, like full-size race bikes that are purpose-built for track racing. Take it off the dealership floor and it's a competitive bike. That's what they're trying to do. This is meant to be a trails bike, an enduro bike, I've never ridden motorcycles before and I'm scared to have to learn to use a clutch and whatnot. So it's really the perfect vehicle if you've ever wanted to learn to ride a motorcycle and you're a grown-up and you're scared to use a clutch or a transmission or whatnot. Honestly, the first time you learn to ride a motorcycle, having to manage all of that stuff is pretty daunting. Like, you got to balance the bike, then you got to deal with the throttle, and then in addition to that, you got to learn to control the throttle with the clutch, and then you got to learn to shift, and it's like, that can be pretty overwhelming the first time you're on a motorcycle. And all of that stuff goes away on this bike. I think that's the big draw of this bike for me, is like, I can have any of my friends come and sit on this thing and they'll be able to learn how to ride it in like 5 minutes, as long as they know how to balance a regular bicycle. I think that's one of the biggest draws of this bike. It's so user-friendly, especially in the lowest power setting. Like, it's not scary at all as long as you know how to balance it. And because of how they carry the weight on the bike, it balances so much easier than a bike like the KLX. Like, the KLX it's a great bike for what it is, but it is a little bit top heavy. Yeah. Anyway, I'm really, really happy with this purchase, and I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it. I don't have to worry about forest fires because of leaves getting caught on the header pipe. So I'm excited about that. All right, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll answer them as best I can. This is a KTM FreeRide EX-C. It's an electric dirt bike. Thank you to Nash Power Sports in Auburn, Washington. They are the dealership that sells these bikes in Washington State. Yeah, they were actually kind enough to drive the bike down because my car does not have a tow hitch on it and I don't have a trailer. So yeah, I bought the bike and they actually drove it down from Auburn to Olympia and brought the bike to me, which was just the nicest thing you can do. Like, I don't know of any dealerships that would do that, and they did. The sales guy, Ben, was super cool. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're into that, or if you're not into that, that's cool too. I appreciate you watching this far. I will see you in the next video. Deuces.